How's it going, my leaky G's? It's Art1fact, and today we are making music. Isn't that a change from the norm, hey? Alright, if you're new to the channel, make sure you snike and heb. And also, while you're down there, check out the links to my beautiful, beautiful Discord community on Patreon, my latest Vital Presets artillery, and also hit me up for a one-on-one lesson. You can also find out the information on pricing and everything down below. I also have mastering services in case you're self-releasing and you want a little final touch on your track. Be happy to help you with that. Let's get in today's video, which is a little tip for Vital and creating more interesting detail and a better stereoed sound without having the need to necessarily use stereo widening weird plugins or anything like that. All right, so let's have a quick little listen to the loop that I've made here before you decide, whether you think I'm actually talking any sense at all, or you think I'm just a bumbling buffoon and I need to be shot with a BB gun in the armpit. Shakers need to come in here, don't they? Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to talk about this bass today, which is the Art1fact Crackle Uber sub patch, which is actually featured on my latest preset pack, Vital Artillery. But what I've gone ahead and done is I've created a new macro on it with a bunch of cool things, and I'm using this to demonstrate a way that we can make a bass sound or a lead sound or any sound really have more of an interesting stereo character without going overboard and trying to use these shitty widening plugins. Excuse my Spanish. So the reason why I'm being aggressive is because I'm quite confident with what I'm saying, and the confident thing that I'm saying is that the best stereo sound from anything comes from the intricate details that are different in the left and right part of the sound. And the more complex and the more intricate you can be with having some little changes on the left, some little changes on the right, in different ways, then the more sort of complex it can be, the more natural it's going to sound and the better the stereo sound is going to be. And yeah, so when you just use a widening plugin, it's just got kind of one algorithm that it spreads it across, and it's just not as nice as doing it yourself. So how are we going to do it ourselves? By the way, this little flangey stab here was from the previous video I did this week, where I distorted a Vital patch with Bit Crusher and layered it on top of the original one to create a crunchy, high-end layer. But yeah, I like this little crackle kind of response bass that we're working with today, which is this one here. And you can see the MIDI, I've just programmed it to sort of stop and start at the right points where it's kind of funky in the groove, and I've added these little grace notes where it glides down a little bit and then up a little bit on the end here, just really, really quickly, just by having the glide mode on Vital with the voices on 1, glide up, always glide, and legato on. So that's exciting. But yeah, like I said, this patch is already on the newest preset pack, and all I've done here today is I've created this macro. So if you kind of listen to it on its own now, when I turn this macro up, you may not notice it if you're listening on your Nokia 3310, but what we're doing is we're actually creating a bunch of movements in the stereo image to make it just pop out more in the mix and the stereo. If you kind of listen with everything else, now turning it on, I mean, to me it sounds at least 25% more interesting just from having these stereo kind of tweaks. And the beautiful thing about how I've done it is it's super easy in Vital, and there's a way you can just test it on everything. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm just going to set up a new LFO here, and just at like 1 tooths. That's because that's a word, tooths. And then we're gonna drag an LFO onto one. Let's put it on one of our effects, like for example this filter here, just this kind of the shape of the filter. So you can hear it's doing something already, right? We're going to turn the stereo down. You can already hear that it starts to really like give us a stereo effect. And you know the way that this works in Vital with this stereo knob is it basically means that the LFO that we're affecting on this particular parameter, it's doing it twice. It's doing it once for the left and then once for the right speaker, and it's doing them at a different interval. So there's a delay between when the right one happens after the left one, or the other way around, and that the amount of the delay is just measured by how much of the stereo knob you tweak, right? But if you do this on a number of different parameters throughout your Vital patch, you can get these like small differences in the left and right throughout these different like what's the word? No, I don't want to say parameters again because I've used that word already. Yeah, throughout the different stages at which you're designing the sound, you know, all these little changes, you can start to already put the left and right differences in there just by putting one of these LFOs with a bit of stereo knob turned down, like onto everything in small amounts, right? And another way another thing that's really good about it is that when you drag it over, you can preview it, and while you're holding it over and like just sort of hovering there, if you go up and down with your mouse wheel, if you've got a mouse, that is, you can actually change like the amplitude of the effect. You can change the amount of the effect while you're previewing it before you even drop it on. So we can just go ahead and try it on like a bunch of different things now. So I did that already before, but now we're gonna create a new one, and I'm just gonna try this on like a load of different effects now. You see, I'll just turn it down a bit there. Let's go for something. Let's try the filter cutoff here as well. And you can see where there's like kind of two lines. There's kind of like a red line and then the orange line, and that's showing you that the left and right are going at different speed. So this is what's creating the stereo effect. So let's go and do it to some other stuff like in the voicing here. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the advanced and see if we can do something on the unison amount here. All right, let's go for some more things in the voicing here. Maybe the FM amounts. Let's try that. It's all very subtle, but I can kind of hear the stereo image just becoming a bit more interesting. Let's try a little bit on one of these filters over here as well. Alright, let's see what happens when we kind of speed it up as well. Maybe we'll go for a dotted amount. And so that's pretty nice there. You've kind of, but if you want to hear like what it was like before, this is why I sort of created the macro. So what I did is if you turn up the smooth, then it renders the LFO kind of off or useless because it's too smooth for anything to even happen. Imagine that, like a smooth talker with women or something, like some guy who's just like, he's so smooth that nothing ever happens. It's just like, is that a thing? Can you be too smooth to even like make anything happen? I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, smooth movers. Let's put the macro on here, bring it back round, and then when we turn it up, this is going to be, like I said before, LR effect. So if you listen with it off, It's a little bit more mono and a little bit less interesting, and when you turn it up, we could mix it in a little bit as well, maybe. Yeah, but we've got a really like more bouncy stereo image, in my opinion. It's like it's all kind of moving, and it just makes it all a bit more dynamic. It's like when you go on a bouncy castle as a kid and it like doesn't deflate. It's that kind of feeling, really. Yeah, there we go. Leave a comment down below if you found the tip useful, if you think I'm an idiot, or if you like this song and you think I should actually try and finish a song rather than just making 100 different loops to explain techniques. Anyway, I've been YouTube, you've been viewer. Good night.